Funky ass baseline.
What's going on, everyone? Recon Rito here. Today I want to discuss the flaws of Destiny and what I think should be improved to really get the most out of this franchise. First of all, I'm not trying to simply hate on the game, because I love Destiny. I think the core game experience is amazing. However, it could be so much more than what it is right now. That has always been the main problem with Destiny. The mechanics feel great, but you almost never feel fully immersed into the world. Apart from the raids, there's never any weight to the activities you do in the game. Not just because of the lack of a good story, which I will discuss later on, but also because of the gameplay itself. Now compare Destiny to a game like Bloodborne. In both games, you mainly have to go from point A to point B, killing all the enemies you encounter on the way, and often ending with a boss fight. However, in Bloodborne, there's a much bigger sense of threat. Even the smallest enemy can kill you, which keeps you on the edge of your seat at all times. It's purely a skill game. You have to improve and adapt your skills to progress in the game. Now this makes the satisfaction so much bigger. In Destiny, most of the encounters are meaningless fillers. They can still be enjoyable, because the shooting itself, the jumping, and of course the supers give this sense of power. However, the satisfaction would be so much bigger if it wasn't just a walk in the park. And when it is more difficult, say you're doing the Omnigul Nightfall Strike, you often end up playing extremely passively, because that's the best way to survive. Bungie should try to find a balance so that the game is both challenging and dynamic, whatever you're doing. I'm no game designer, so I don't know the best way of approaching this. But perhaps they could make the enemy's guns more lethal, while also giving the players more tools to dodge gunfire and quickly move around, with something like boost slides, similar to those in the game Vanquish. If you can feel powerful, while simultaneously feeling the danger of the world around you and the strength of the enemies, then the gameplay never gets stale. Apart from the gameplay, there are also a lot of flaws in the world itself, how they present it, and the story around it. The setting is very interesting, and it looks absolutely beautiful. However, everything kind of feels like a movie set. It doesn't feel like a real and living world. It's just a good looking playground, with some enemies placed on it. There is not nearly enough interaction with the world. Compare it to The Witcher 3, where even the smallest side quest feels like it is actually part of that world. If you ride on your horse from A to B, you never know what you might encounter on the way, while in Destiny, it is all very much staged. There need to be random events, for example, NPCs you may find during patrol. Perhaps a guardian whose life is in your hands, and if you decide to help him, he reveals what mission he was on, and asks you to join him. Together you can complete it, and you get some rewards for it. Simple ideas like this one give the player the impression that there is always more out there than a few dregs that always spawn in the same spot. The impression that you're not just playing a video game, but in fact taking a dive into a different universe. The Witcher 3 does this so well. All the cities feel like actual places, as if real people are living there, all with their own background. This makes you care a lot more about them. You want to help them with their problems. You really want to protect the good from the evil. In Destiny, the NPCs only appear in a couple of cutscenes and as vendors, and that's just not enough. You need that involvement in the gameplay to truly feel connected to them. The stakes are there. We need to defend the last city on Earth, and we need to defend humanity. We just need more personal stories. How much more immersive would this game be if we could play something like the Battle of the Twilight Gap, where we fight alongside fellow guardians led by Commander Zavala. The story of the missions doesn't have to be deep, we have the lore for that, but the story does have to engage us into the universe and involve us with the characters. Now speaking of lore, Bungie should really expand on the presentation of the lore of the game. There are some amazing background stories, with characters that are actually far more interesting than the ones we have in the game right now. However, I never felt like investing time in discovering all of it. A big problem is of course the presentation. Apart from some short gear descriptions that contain lore, we can only find it on the Grimoire cards that cannot be found in the game itself. Now it may not seem like a big step to check out the website for these cards, but actually it really is, and it has a huge impact on the immersiveness of the lore. Presenting the lore through a website creates this disconnection from the game. And so when you're playing the game, you do not feel that there is so much lore behind it. Add that to the movie set like world of Destiny, and the world becomes extremely shallow. Take the Ahamkara for example. They seem to be these incredible creatures, but really, you don't get the impression that they're part of the game universe, apart from some of their bones. Again, comparing it to a game like Bloodborne, in there the lore is much more woven into the game itself. And really you can notice a huge difference. The world feels mysterious. You constantly wonder how all the pieces fit together in the universe, what the backstory is behind some creepy place or terrifying boss. All this adds so much to the experience of the game. To make a long story short, Destiny's world is just dull. It doesn't really have a soul, so to speak. I really hope that Destiny 2 will bring this world to life, because it has so much potential. It could use a much heavier tone. The darkness has spread across the universe, and I want to feel it. Make the enemies much more imposing, a force to be reckoned with. Out there in the wild, it needs to be a dangerous place. Add NPCs that you can interact with, that you can have various dialogues with. Give us a reason to defend the universe. Add outposts that we constantly have to fight for. Make the world more open, seamless and connected, instead of only having these small chopped pieces of content. And that great lore that surrounds the game, embrace it. I want to feel the connection with all those legends. Let me dive deep into this world, so that I too can become legend. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you learned something useful, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. I am Recon Rido, and I wish you all a very good day.